Hello there, hope you are doing well. In this session, we are going to talk about the object-oriented programming concept in Solidity programming language. Solidity programming language is a programming language which can be used for creating smart contracts on Ethereum blockchain. So that's why it plays a very important role for Ethereum blockchain, and those who are working on Ethereum blockchain or those programmers who are working on the backend of the decentralized application which would be deployed on Ethereum blockchain, it is very necessary for them as well, because for creating a better software which is following the best practices for creating the softwares or best practices for creating the smart contracts, they should know the object oriented programming concept for creating the smart contracts. So that's why we are going to discuss the object oriented programming concept in Solidity programming. And today we are going to talk about that what would be how many types of object oriented programming concepts are there and which are most important. And today we are going to talk about the first object oriented programming concept which is very necessary to understand before understanding the remaining three or before learning remaining three. So let me tell you the four types of object oriented programming concept today. Basically there are multiple key object oriented programming concepts, but the most important are four. So first one is, which is very necessary for understanding the classes and all, or the visibility of the properties and variables, is the encapsulation. Encapsulation is a concept which can be used for wrapping up the data into a single unit and making the data in a valid state or keeping the data into a valid state using several functions. So that's how you can use the encapsulation, and encapsulation is building block for the remaining object oriented programming concepts. Now the second one which comes into the picture is the inheritance. Inheritance is completely related to reusability of the code and reusability of the contracts. So that's why it is completely related to reusability. When we comes to the inheritance, and we will understand it properly. Then it comes to the polymorphism. Polymorphism is also one of the most important concept which shows the real world concept of one thing having multiple forms, or one person is overloaded with multiple work. That is what polymorphism is. So we will be understanding the polymorphism as well, and at the end we will be talking about the abstraction, which is one of the most important object oriented programming concept, and students are having lot of problem in this concept only, in abstraction. Basically, abstraction is used for imposing the guidelines, but students are not understanding it properly and they are stuck on it. And they would not be able to understand it properly in future, and that's why they are giving wrong answer in their interviews. So that's why I am here with all these object-oriented programming concepts today. And today we are going to talk about encapsulation. In the next session, we will be talking about the inheritance, and next session of it, we will be talking about polymorphism and abstraction. So one by one, we will cover each and every topic and every concept, and then it would be very clear to you, and it would completely be clear to you to understand these concepts in Solidity or to implement these concepts in Solidity programming language. Now, let me tell you what is encapsulation. Encapsulation means, let me write the definition. Encapsulation means encapsulating something. And basic why encapsulation is used, it is one of the most asked question. Why encapsulation can be used? For keeping the internals of an object in valid state. In valid state. Now, if anyone will ask you that how to keep the internals of an object in valid state, so you can definitely say that with the help of functions and by keeping the variables as private. By keeping the variables as private and by making several functions and by validating the variables values which is coming for setting the data, we can keep the object in a valid state. This is one of the easiest answer for this question, and we are going to implement the program as well, so it would be clear then. Now let me write the definition first. So encapsulation is wrapping up of data into a single unit. This is what a basic definition that everyone speaks, or everyone says this definition only. But this is not the complete definition. Wrapping up of data into a single unit by keeping the object or data into valid state, or whatever you want. You just need to show that whatever data that that your contract has would not go in invalid state. Through this definition, what you says is, you are saying that whatever contract I am having, and how many variables I am having, all those variable would be in valid state by keeping the visibility or access specifier of all those variables as private, and by creating specific function for all those variables, so that those variables would be in valid state. Now, what does it mean as the valid state? Let me create an example, then it would definitely be clear. So one of the best ID that everyone knows, and uh, it is used for creating the smart contracts by several people, and even several companies are using it. So that's why we are also going to use it. And let me create a new file, encapsulation.sol. And I hope you already know everything about the extension and all these things. I am hoping that you know some of the basic thing about the Solidity programming language. So let me comment the general processing license, SPDX license identifier, as a public license, sorry, general public license 3.0. And let me define the version that we are going to use. So pragma solidity, say greater than 0.5.0 and less than equal to 0.8.0. Okay, now let me create a contract bulb. It would be the best example that I always takes. So a bulb is there, and inside that bulb I just want that no one will be able to use. If I am giving public, or in a bulb there is a wattage. So let me create a wattage variable. So unsigned integer public wattage. Now, if I'm giving this variable as, or I'm giving this variable as public, or access specifier or visibility of this variable as public, then anyone in this environment can use this variable. So I just don't want anyone to use it, or I just don't want anyone to access it, because we already know that no one can access the wattage of the bulb. Like for example, bulb wattage is the internal thing of the bulb. As we already know, if you are having a bulb and inside that bulb there is a filament, no one can touch it. If someone will touch it, then he will have to destroy that bulb first. So that's what the internal mean, that no outer world can access that internal thing. So that's why we would have to keep that variable as private, then only it would become an encapsulation. Let me make it private, because if we will keep it public, then automatically getter function would be created, and through that getter function we can easily access it. But rather than get that getter function, anyone in this environment can use it. So that's why I don't want anyone to use this variable directly without creating an object. So now let me create a setter function for that, because as this variable is private, so no one can access it. We would have to create setter function for setting the wattage and for getting the wattage. Now let's say function get, or sorry, set wattage first. Set wattage, which would be accepting a parameter watt, and it would be of public type, which is not returning any type of data, and it is just setting, so we do not need to give pure and view. Okay, now wattage is equal to watt. So this is what the basic setter function that you can give. And let me give another function, or let me create it, get function, get wattage, which is of unsigned integer. Sorry, it would not take anything. It would be of public and view type, and it is returning, it returns unsigned integer. Okay, it is of view type because it is just reading the data of this wattage, or it is just reading the state variable. That's why we have to keep it as view, or we have to declare this, or we have to define this function with view keyword. Now it would be returning the wattage only. Okay, so these are two functions. Let me deploy this program and let me show you what happens. So let's deploy. So this is the instance of that deployment. So as you can see, we are getting a set wattage function and get wattage function, or a GUI for that. And you can set the data by giving data into it. So let's say I want a bulb of 100 watt. Now let's set the data. So the data has been set, the transaction has been executed successfully, and let's call the get wattage function. So we will check that, or before that, let me delete this because we need to check it first, or we need to check the default value of wattage. So let's check the get wattage first. Is it working or not? So yeah, it is working. We are getting the default value of wattage variable, because unsigned variables in Solidity always has the default value as 0. Now let me set the wattage of this bulb as 100. So I have called the set wattage function, which is executed, and now when I will call the get wattage function, then it would give me 100. So let's see, is it giving or not? So yeah, it is giving 100 to me, means my bulb has, or my bulb is of 100 watt. Now let's assume that there is a limit of wattage into my bulb, as we cannot give negative values because it is a unsigned integer. So unsigned integer never takes negative values. See this. So this is one validation that you have already performed. Now you cannot give the negative value. If anyone, or if any user wants to give negative value, then that value would be restricted to get set. See this, it has not been set. It is error, out of bounds. It is not setting that data because unsigned integer cannot, or variables of unsigned integer cannot be set as the negative values. It can only be set from 0 to a specific number. So that is one validation. But what if your bulbs can only handle the electricity of 500 volts, but you are giving 1000 to it? So is it possible to do that? Let's see. I'm giving 1000, and I'm setting set wattage, and I'm using get wattage. So yeah, it is saying that the wattage of the bulb is 1000 now. So it is not correct, because you are giving 1000 watt of electricity to my bulb and it is not capable of handling that electricity. So what you will have to do, you will have to validate whatever input that you are getting in set wattage before setting the data into it, because of these things your bulb is getting fused, or your bulb is getting destroyed, because you are giving overpower, or you are giving extra electricity than it wants. So basically you will have to validate the data coming, or you will have to validate the parameters of the function or set voltage function. So if watt is greater than 500, then return, or set wattage as wattage is equal to 500, else we will do this. So this is what the validation you can do, and this is the perfect meaning of encapsulation, because you are encapsulating, you are validating the data first, and then only you are giving that data to your variables, or your state variables, or the variables inside your contract. So you are trying to keep your variables in valid state, so they will not go in invalid state. So that's what the thing that you need to do. So this is the perfect example of encapsulation, in which you are validating the data that is coming as a parameter, or which is given by a user. So you are validating it, and if it is valid, then only you are giving that variable, or then only you are giving that value to your variables. So that is what the meaning of encapsulation. Now let me deploy this program again, or smart contract again, and let's see what it gives. Now if I am giving 1000, then let's see what happens. So it has been executed, but only 500 has been set. So because of this if condition, my program has become encapsulated, or my contract has become encapsulated. So that's what the basic example of encapsulation. And I hope the thing is clear, that how to keep the object in valid state, or how to keep the variables in valid state. These are the variables, state variables.